So my entire life is in Notion, at least since they first launched in June 2018 on Product Hunt. I was one of the earliest users to adopt Notion. So in this video, I'm going to show you my love for Notion and a couple of my favorite and most used use cases, including some that I haven't seen in any other Notion videos. #unique. I'll give you a sneak peek into my smile file. I'll talk about my nuggets of lessons database. I'll talk about my logs system applied to finances. I'll share a little bit about my 7P organization system and much, much more. I'm hoping my use cases can inspire and inform your personal journey into Notion, whether you're just starting out or looking for more inspiration. Let's go! I am an early adopter of Notion. As such, I accumulated so many pages and databases that made it really impossible and gnarly to organize. So I came up with my own organization system, which I'm calling the 7 Ps. So if you look to the left here, you can see some of my workspaces, but let's focus our attention on this section. So what do the 7 Ps mean? We mean personal, progress, people, professional, physical, financial, I'm cheating a little bit over here, and past. Let's get an overview of each one, starting from the bottom. Past are basically my archives, so any pages or databases that I don't necessarily need to use or look at constantly, but I want to maybe reference in the future. Financial, anything money or finance related. I'll specifically talk more about the log of finances in another section. Physical, anything health related or exercise related. Professional, I'll dump anything career or work related over here. People includes categories or databases where I can keep track of specific categories of people. Progress is something that I use constantly, basically ways that I can improve myself and compound my growth. So I'll put notes and articles, reflections and goals, etc. on this. And lastly, personal is basically a dump of all of the other things that just don't fit neatly into the other categories. A lot of what I'll be talking about today falls into this category. One of the most popular use cases for a Notion YouTuber is a daily dashboard or their HQ. So here is my daily dashboard. I look at this every single day. At the very top here, you'll see 5 mantras or philosophies that I am reminded of every day. This maps back to my annual reviews where I think about philosophies I want to have for the entire year. Start here on the very left side. Here is a picture of my family and my boyfriend, just some people that I love and care about at the very top of my dashboard. At the bottom over here, we see a percentage of life and time that I've already consumed as a reminder to live life every day. Over here is a section that I call Reflect, Smile, and Grow. I'll talk more about my journal, my smile file, and my nuggets of lessons in a bit, so I won't brood too much on this. Over here is my Get Done section, arguably the section that I spend most of my time on. I have to-dos for my startup, which right now has fake to-dos because some of it is a secret. But what I will tell you is that this is a synced block, which syncs back to my company's weekly goals. So that Amy, my co-founder, also sees a preview of my goals for the day, and we're always kept in sync. Over here, I also have my own personal to-dos, which is also great because now I don't have to put my personal to-dos in my startup to-dos, which just mucks everything up. Lastly here, I also have my to-dos for content creation. So nice thing about it is if I want to clear this section up a little bit, I'll organize it in some ongoing versus some active to-dos. And when I'm done with certain action items, I'll just put in my archive over here. All right, this rightmost section over here is a breakdown of some popular pages, work in progress pages, which usually I'll put on my favorites, but now I only have one favorite and everything is organized here. My habits and life goals. So this section I just created recently. Me and my partner Nick monthly have a reflections on habits and goals we want to achieve so we can keep each other accountable. This is also a synced block, so I can reference the monthly retro page, put my goals in there, and keep track and make sure I'm working towards those goals by looking at my daily dashboard every day. Lastly, so I stay accountable to my habits and goals up here, I also have a habit tracking database. So every week I'll create a set of my habits that I want to keep track of, and I'll just check off if I've done it for that day. And as you can see here, it updates the percentage against this weekly goal. A quick pause here. If you're liking everything so far, I highly appreciate hitting the like button or subscribe button. It helps this channel a ton, and I'm hoping I can create more videos that are of value to you. So make sure you comment any suggestions or thoughts or feedback for me. All right, let's get on with the show. All right, so now let's double click into one of the databases here, which is my journal. All right, so for my journal, I basically write in this almost every day. I love journaling. Before I had it on Notion, I was writing on all these notebooks, and it became really tedious to carry around because I like to travel and I hop from the Philippines to the US and back and forth. Plus, when I wanted to look at previous entries, I wasn't able to readily do it because a lot of it was just stored in the Philippines. So I transferred my journaling into Notion, and it's been great. So what I'll show you here aren't specific entries, but my daily template. So I have a couple here. The main thing that I use is this daily journal template. And as you'll see, it's a breakdown of things that'll be helpful for my morning routine. So I use a separate app called Autopilot, which is probably going to be in a separate video. But every day I will open this journal and list out what I dreamt. I'm trying to do more lucid dreaming. It's not helping, but trying it nonetheless. Thinking about a story-worthy moment, I joined this workshop by Matthew Dix, and he talked about the art of storytelling and how you can exercise your creative storytelling muscles. So trying to do that every so often. I list out what the most important thing is for me to do and reflect on today, and eventually I'll add it to my database. 3 nuggets of gratitude, so always being thankful, especially at the start of the day. A thing that would make today great, something fun, something productive. And then I have other things that I do, such as read educational content or watch educational videos for about 30 minutes, and a listing of different ideas, and here's some inspiration that I can draw from. Of course, aside from the daily journal prompts, I also have other moments when I journal. If you see this, it's a reflection, a random moment where I wanted to talk about building empathy, ideas for YouTube or TikTok content, and more reflections over here. Won't show too much. So you can see there are some reflections or memories that I want to take stock of, and I'll put it here in my journal. My smile file. So the impetus for this database is that a couple months ago, years ago, I was going through a rough patch, and it was really hard to find motivation. So one of my coaches / friends suggested I keep a smile file, basically a database or repository of things that make me smile. So a lot of these are comments from people, friends, co-workers on me as a person, my work ethic, etc. And what I do when it's not such a great day is come back here and remind myself that there are a lot of things to be happy for, to be content with, to be satisfied with, and a lot of love going around for me. I highly recommend using a smile file. It's a really easy breakdown. Basically, the person and a brief title to kind of describe what that moment is, their name, if you want to keep track of them, the date that it was added so you can organize it based on when you put it into your smile file. And then when you click into one of them, you post the screenshot or the text that is evidence of that moment. Another repository that I like to look back often is this Nuggets of Lessons repository, which is shared with me and Amy, a lot of it relating to startups and our entrepreneurial journey. I'm blurring things out here because a lot of it is a secret, but let me give you a quick demo of how we might use it. Very simple. So I click new here and I type in the lesson, such as I learned a lesson about communication today. Great. And then I'll add in the tag. Now the benefit of these tags is that now, let's say I am in the throes of wanting to learn more about communication. Maybe I'm writing an email, maybe I'm going to speak publicly, then I can just filter for that specific tag and look at all my notes related to communication. Very easy, very simple to do. I highly recommend keeping track of your lessons, whether it's personal or whether for your startup, work, etc., and take stock so you can continue to compound your learning and growth over time. Notion Clipper feature. First use case for Notion Clipper is inspired by Jules Acree. Check out her channel below. And this is what I call the to buy or not to buy database. So what happens is if I'm in Amazon or come across a thing that I want to buy but not super sure, I go into the page, go over to my extension, which is the Notion Clipper extension. You can download it in your Chrome store. And I type in what this is. So this is the iPhone video stand and stabilizer. And then I click the specific database that I want to put into. So this is to buy or not to buy. Click Save Page, and I can open it in Notion. As you can see here, here's the link that's saved, the title that I just put in. Click back to the database, and here is a list of things that I need a decision on. So this also has the needs the decision tag. A bunch of things on my list that I want or need to buy. And for some people that want to stop impulse purchases, this is really helpful because then you can think about it more after a week. Look and see if this is something that you still need. For me, I get a lot of paralysis in shopping, and so this is actually helpful for me to remind myself that I wanted to buy this at some point, and to make sure that I think more about it and look back at it to make sure that I'm actually possibly going to be making the purchase if I think it's valuable enough. Hopefully some of these turn into a real decision. Perhaps the bot decided not to buy, or could buy this in the future, but not now. The second use case for the Notion Clipper is articles to read. Very straightforward. Let's say I land on an awesome article that I would love to read, but don't really have time to process or digest right now. This, by the way, is on my newsletter, mikareyes.substack.com. I click the Notion Clipper, and I can list out exactly what this article is about and who wrote it. Let's say that's that. I choose this database that I have called Articles to Read and click it. Save page. Open it in Notion, and I land on the article itself. Look at the list of articles to read, and when I have time to really digest and sit down and read through these, then I have everything saved, and I can then process it at a future moment. That's it. Super simple. Really quickly, I want to show you a couple other databases and use cases for clips that you can use on Notion. These are nothing special, but hopefully still inspires you in your Notion journey in case you want to use Clipper a bit more or databases a bit more. Here I have a list of my favorite SF food places. I put in the name, my rating for it, if I'd gone to it or not, who recommended it, any notes for food that I should definitely try or that I tried that I really liked, and a specific neighborhood in SF that it's in. Here's my books to read database. Here you can see the name of the book, the author, my rating if I've read it already, critique, and who recommended it. I'll put in the date that it's finished or the date that I input it, so it ranks up higher in comparison to the rest of the books that are laid out here. Lastly, here's the database in my people category where I take stock of lessons from conversations or panels or talks that I attend. Some of these are one-on-ones, so a bit more intimate. Some of these are from talks that I attended that I wanted to take notes on. Very simple, not much here. Basically, the name of the person that I learned from, or the couple people that I learned from, a quick description of who they are, what we talked about, and when it was created. And then when I click into one of these, I then type out the notes, the agenda that I had, if it's a one-on-one conversation, and take stock of everything that I learned. So one of the power tools for Notion is this website called super.so, which is a way for you to transform your Notion page into an external website. And this is what I've done for my website here. I've been on a ton of website hosting platforms such as WordPress and Tumblr, and this is by far the easiest way to set one up and edit it just like that. Let me show you. So here is the Notion page to my website. As you can see, it's a part of my Notion account overall. And I have it formatted here. There's the About page. Here's my blog, which is basically a database of all the things I've written. Here are a couple links which you can check out. Some of my top recommendations for things that you should get and my referral codes for each. Some projects and a little about me. What I'll do sometimes here is I'll update this and then say I updated it today. And with this specific part of my website, I will go to super.so, create my account, hook it up here. Here's the Notion page URL. And you can see it's referenced here. Do edits that I need. So I need to hook up my domain. I need to create pretty URLs out of the ugly URLs that Notion gives. This is also very good for SEO. Put any code if I want, some themes such as the color or the font, and then deploy, and it poops out this beauty over here. So notice this is the About section. Here is my website, my blog, links, etc. And the nice thing is, anytime I change anything on my Notion page, it within 1 minute updates in this website here. So very instant changes. Super fast, super easy, super simple. I put a referral link to super.so below. Let me share a little bit about my blog's structure. So I created this new type of page, which I'll call logs. So as you can see here are my logs of finances, which has right now fake data. So what I do with logs is I basically put in the date and then some action items that I did for that specific day. For example, I can type today, super simple, and say transferred money from Fidelity to Chase. Simple. You can put the dollar amount, whatever. So the reason I have, for example, this log of finances is I forget that I did a specific action, and it'll take me so much time to look at all my accounts, do the historical tracking, etc. So super easily, I just do it here. Now, I could absolutely also just use a database, and for each database line item, put in the thing that I did, and then it'll automatically put in the created time, right? But I think the beauty of using this log structure is that, one, it's much easier to do versus clicking into the new button, typing everything in, putting any tags, etc. I don't really need that robust database structure to make this happen. I can just put in the bullet points as needed, and I can also search anything and everything within this page versus clicking into each database item, looking at my notes for each one, etc. Very easy, just a quick snapshot of what I did for that specific day so I remember and don't have to look at all these different accounts again and again. Another use case you might want to think about for using this, which we kind of do for some of our meetings with different people, is if you're meeting with a person again and again, you can just use this long database, put in the date of that conversation, and type in your notes, meeting and agenda. Lastly, here is my reflections and goals page. I've transferred all my reflections and goals now into Notion, and as you can see, it backtracks from 2017, 2018, all the way up to this year. Nice thing is I have templates, which you can check out in the description below. And I do this reflection and goals or OKR setting at the start of every year. The nice thing about having everything here is that I can look back at previous years really easily and really quickly just copy this template that I have and do the reflection and goal setting easily. Here's a quick preview of my templates. Here's the year-end reflection. I've been doing this since, 2015. or so, and I change the template up every so often, but for the most part, a lot of the core things are pretty consistent. So I have my milestones and memories over here. For every quarter, what significant thing happened? Looking back, a couple of questions that I want to reflect on in different categories. And then I also have the personal goals and OKRs, where I transform those high-level goals into concrete action items. So here are the philosophies that you saw in my dashboard. Here's some progress-related OKRs, professional people. If you notice, these are all a part of my 7P system. If you want to make your own personal goals and OKR, check out the template below and send me feedback if there's anything you think I should be improving on. Now, a lot of the use cases I talk about today are all use cases for me personally, but let me show you a sneak peek of other Notion videos and use cases that I have, such as my content creation calendar, database, and system, my shared couples Notion, and my startup / small person team Notion system. Check out those videos if you want more inspiration for the different Notion pages, databases, and use cases that can be helpful for you. And to end, something important to keep in mind with Notion is that you can go hours and hours, days and days optimizing Notion databases and pages for every single use case. Don't be like me, don't do that. Just get started with simple blocks, simple pages. And if you want to get started with any of these databases in particular, check out some of the templates that I link down below in the description. Let me know if they're helpful for you and send me feedback. That's all, folks. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!